Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to introduce the episode, What's the Difference? Stay tuned. So today we have 4 points to study. The first two, fun and funny, history and story. Okay, so let's go to the first one. Fun and funny, what's the difference? Fun is something that is enjoyable, that makes you happy. Let's say you go to a fun party, you have a fun day in the park, or something that amuses you. Funny, on the other hand, is something comical, like ha ha ha. Like let's say you have a funny friend, or you have someone who's always making jokes, so that person is really funny, or you watch a very funny romantic comedy. So those are basically the two differences between both. This is actually a very common mistake among Brazilians. I've noticed Brazilian students, not really sure about other students around the world, but just to have the definition, fun, something enjoyable, funny, something comical, something that makes you laugh. Okay, moving on to the second point, which is history and story. Okay, history, history and story, they're very similar, but the difference is the following. History is something that is based on facts. Sorry about that, my cat. Let's say it's a description of facts and based on it's description of events based on facts and the truth of the past. Okay, so description of past events based on truth and facts. And on the other hand, story is also a description of past events, but not necessarily based on truth. It could be true or not. Let's say the facts about something that happened in your life. That's true, right? And let's say fairy tale stories. Fairy tale stories are not based on true facts. They're just made up stories. So history, based on the truth. Past events, description of past events based on the truth. The American history, the Brazilian history, the Canadian history, etc. And story, also description of past events, but based on something that really happened about your life, about someone's life, or based on some made-up story, like a fairy tale. But there's also another use for history, the word history. History you can use in medical context. Let's say history, if you have a history of heart disease, or if you have a history of diabetes in your family. And also to have history with someone, like you have history with your friend, you've known your friend for years, or you have history with an ex, and so on. Okay, so let's go to some examples for history and story. So history, description of past events based on the truth, on facts, for the purpose of education. So let's say I'm taking history in college, or my dream is to major in history one day. Story. Story, also description of past events for the purpose of entertainment. Entertainment is kind of relative in this case because you could be talking about a very tragic story about someone or about yourself. So not necessarily entertainment every time. So if it's something based on truth about someone's life, it could be entertainment or not. So let's go with the fun part, a fun story. Let's say your friend was telling you about the story of how she met the love of her life. That's a happy example. And for a more tragic example, you would say, let's say an acquaintance of mine or the friend of a friend has gone through very difficult times and her story is very tragic. Next up, let's see 2 more points. Bill and count, and music and song. These 4 words, they're mostly confusing among Brazilians, especially when you translate it literally to Portuguese. So for example, conta could mean count. For example, could be confused with the word count. But when you're talking about an invoice or something that you have to pay, you call it a bill, not a count. So bill is normally something you get through the mail, from your electric company, or from like the gas company, like a rent that you have to pay, so that's a bill. And count is a verb, so you count numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it has nothing to do with conta. And music and song. Music and song, in the translation of Portuguese, it also means the same thing, música. So to make the definition more clear for you guys, song is something specific. Like, let's say we use it in more specific term, that one particular song of that band. And music is more of generic term, like the style of music, pop, rock, MPB for Brazilians, funk, samba, etc. So let's put it in a practical example. Lionel Richie is a singer, and my favorite song by him is Endless Love, or my favorite song is Hello. And his style of music is romantic. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and it clarified your doubts. For the following episodes that I'll be recording, the next 2 will be about pronunciation issues and the corrections, and also expressions with God, with the word God. So stay tuned for the next episodes, and I'll see you next time.